Hello, sorry. Here is a task 1, and it's a letter to a shop manager describing a problem with some equipment that you bought for your kitchen, explaining what happened when you phoned the shop and saying what you would like the manager to do. So you need to write at least 150 words and begin your letter, Dear Sir or Madam. So they've already told you to write Dear Sir or Madam, and yet you only write Dear Sir. You need to follow the instructions on the question. And for this particular case, you don't know who the manager is, and therefore you don't know if it's a man or a woman. And to be safe, you need to say Dear Sir or Madam, because if the manager is a woman and you write Dear Sir, she's not going to be very happy with you. So just to be on the safe side, that's the better way to start, and it did tell you to do that, so just follow the instructions, really. And then you haven't finished the letter as it should be. We have very strict rules about formal letter writing, so when the letter starts Dear Sir or Madam, you finish with yours faithfully, and then your name, Ruth Vira Pasani. Oops, sorry. You have to have that. That's part of what's being tested here, is that you know how to write a proper formal letter. So you need to have the beginning and you need to have the ending. If you're going to start with Dear Mr. Jones and it's a formal letter, then it would finish with yours sincerely. So I do suggest you brush up on those letter writing rules so that you know next time what it should be. So, Dear Sir or Madam, my name is Ruthira Papasamy Sridhar. I recently bought a piece of equipment from your shop for my kitchen. I started to use this machine, but it was not working, and immediately I called your shop and filed, only one L, my complaint. However, still no action has been taken. So because you said I recently bought, that's the past tense, therefore it's something that's already happened, and so the next few verbs also need to be in the past tense, because you started to use the machine in the past and it was not working, because this was when at that time in the past. It's not talking about right now. You're talking about when you first started using the machine. So you need to be using the past tenses throughout that paragraph. When I started to use this machine, I found some problems. And you don't need to say machine again. The main problem was, once starting the equipment, comma, and a comma here, noise was being produced from it. So again, you don't need to repeat equipment. And after a few seconds, the machine automatically stopped. Once I found the problem, I contacted your shop and explained the problem. Your staff received my complaint, and after that they told me they would send the service provider to my house to solve the issue. So again, because you're talking about when you actually contacted the shop, which is in the past, so what their exact words were probably, we will send a service provider. But when you're reporting that as a story, then it goes back a tense and it becomes would. They told me they would send the service provider to my house to solve the issue. But still, none of your service providers have come to solve the issue. Please kindly help me to arrange your service provider to solve my equipment issue. If you still cannot arrange any service provider within 2 days, I will return my equipment and you will need to return my money in the full amount. Yours faithfully, Ruthie Rapapasamy. Yeah, so there was quite a few issues here where you're not using the right tenses, you didn't use the sign off. There was almost every sentence I was having to change things. So just to remember, when you're talking about something that's already happened, you need to be consistently using the past tenses. There were some verbs that you had past tense, but most of them were in the present tense. So it doesn't make sense. So that's something you really need to work at. So for this, I would give it probably a 5.5. So there's quite a bit of work that needs to be done. Thank you very much. Hello. So here we have a task 1, and it's looking at a graph about goods that were transported in the UK between 1974 and 2002. So the chart illustrates the amount of goods transported not to the UK, it's in the UK, and that is the title, so just be very careful when you're transferring the information. It needs to be the same, because if you're talking about to the UK, it would be from outside, but this is within the country. By means of 4 different ways over, okay, therefore there we need a comma, over a period from 1974 to 2002. Overall, the main mode of good transportation was by roadways. Good. To begin with, by water and rail, transported almost equal amounts at the beginning of the chart, around 39 and 40. So the axis actually has a title and it says million tons. So you do need to write that, because just saying 39 and 40 without qualifying that that represents millions of tons means that the person reading doesn't quite understand the quantities involved. So they're around 39 and 40 million tons respectively. Subsequently, waterway overtook rail and reached above 60 million tons by the end of the graph. There was a fluctuation in the quality. We're not talking about quality at all here, it's all quantity of goods transported by rail, and the numbers reached back to almost the same level towards the end of the graph. Full stop. Oh, sorry, full stop. About 70 million tons of goods were transported using railways when? That's in 1974, which was about 6 times more than pipeline. At the end of the chart, road reached, don't need reach twice, just below 100 million tons, which was the peak of the graph, whereas, is one word, pipeline was just above 20 million tons, which was the lowest in the chart. So there were quite a few errors here. Firstly, always qualify what the numbers represent, at least if it tells you in the graph. Here it's very clear that it's million tons, so you do need to be using that. Also, all the years are in the past, so all the verbs need to be in the past tenses. You need to qualify which year you're talking about. So there's quite a lot not quite right in this one. Although the information basically is correct, you haven't expressed it in the best possible way. So I would give this one a 6. So moving on to the task 2, the question is, nowadays many people are starting to walk less in their daily life, even though many health experts say that walking is the best exercise to maintain health. Why are people starting to walk less, and what might encourage them to walk more? These days, comma, it is undeniable that walking is becoming a less common practice in our days today. Okay, you've already said these days, so this bit is actually not necessary. So these days, it is undeniable that walking is becoming a less common practice. There are several reasons for this, but certain measures could be taken to alleviate the situation. Good, it's a nice, clear, concise introduction. You have what the topic is and what's going to be discussed in the essay, so that's fine. There are several causes of this situation. The main one is that technological as well as infrastructural advancements have resulted in a sedentary lifestyle. That's one word. Yes, that's a nice sentence. Technological as well as infrastructural. That's well-balanced structure in the format of the wording, and that's very well said. For instance, escalators, walkolators, and elevators have replaced the pavement. This has led to people becoming less involved in walking and using more and more of the above. In addition, people are affluent and care about prestige. Therefore, they choose fitness centers or the gym instead of walking. For example, being a member of a gym or fitness center is a trend. Moreover, people feel that indoor exercise is more convenient and requires less effort compared with outdoor exercises, especially walking. Good, yeah, the good points that you've made there, that escalators, elevators and so on have replaced the need to walk, and then the trend of going to fitness centers has also done the same thing. Although that's a better trend because at least they're exercising. Various suggestions could be given in order to tackle the above. In the first place, the government could launch a nationwide campaign to raise awareness about the importance of walking to maintain health. For instance, advertisements by the Ministry of Health about the benefits of walking in terms of exercise. Could be shown. Another way forward could be inculcating games and exercises which mainly involve walking. Okay, the in school should be there. Another way forward could be inculcating games and exercises in school which mainly involve walking and other physical activities. Due to the school requirements, students will be forced to participate in those activities. The result is that students will develop a walking habit and their health would improve dramatically. Don't forget to use full stops at the end of your paragraphs. It is quite a key piece of punctuation. In conclusion, various factors have led to problems related to less walking, but this situation could be addressed by the launch of awareness campaigns and modifying the school curriculum to include more walking activities or games. Given this situation, it is recommended that steps should be taken immediately in order to ensure the health of the people in the country improves. Good. So the conclusion's very good. The introduction is nice and short, and then the core paragraphs work logically through the points that were asked in the question. So you first of all analyze why people are walking less, and then you give some suggestions on what could be done to encourage them to walk more. All the suggestions are very good. Yeah, so the basic elements in the essay are great. The structure of the paragraphing is good. The content is good. You just need to work on your grammar, punctuation, and things like that. So I would give this one a 6.5. Okay, thank you very much. Hello. So here we have a task 2, and the question is, nowadays the amount of garbage we produce is increasing, and this is becoming a global problem. What are the reasons for this, and what can be done to solve this problem? It is inevitable that there has been an increasing volume of waste being produced from households and industries, and this presents a challenge for all of us. There are a number of causes of this, but several measures could be taken to alleviate the problem. Good, that's a nice, clear introduction, concise, explaining what the topic is. There are several causes of this situation. The main one is that the increasing number of population, the increasing amount of population, or the increasing size of the population has resulted in a larger amount of refuse being produced. This is because industries and factories may require more raw materials as there is a demand, materials with a comma, as there is a demand to accommodate the population growth. As a result, traditional ways of disposing of waste, such as landfill and incineration, are not possible for such a large amount of waste. Moreover, these historical methods may also cause long-term ground contamination, which produces greenhouse gases and consequently will lead to global warming. In addition, companies believe that products will be only attractive to customers if they are packaged in colorful and fancy designs, which are mostly non-biodegradable plastic materials. As a consequence, it imposes challenges for all nations to dispose of such a diverse mix of materials in an ecologically sound manner, which may result in high costs. Good. There's a lot included in that paragraph. So you talk about population growing, industries and factories having to make more products, and the old ways of disposing of the waste are not working anymore, and it's leading to environmental problems. So it's a great, packed, full of information paragraph. Various possible courses, not causes, but courses of action could be taken in order to tackle the above. Firstly, the government should raise the level of public understanding for the need to reduce waste gradually. For example, individuals can take part in this by reducing the amount of plastic bags used for food packaging and grocery bags. The result of this will be that refuse will be reduced significantly, and the amount of money spent for disposal may be diverted into waste processing plants. Furthermore, the government may introduce incentives for consuming less and penalties for excessive waste. By doing so, factories and plants may be more deliberate and think twice before they commit some offences. As a last point, the government should provide sufficient funds for waste processing and recycling facilities at the local level. Consequently, may reduce the environmental impacts such as pollution, and more recycled products may be produced. In conclusion, various factors have contributed to causes related to the high volume of refuse, but this situation could be addressed by raising public awareness and diverting more funds into waste processing facilities. Given this situation, it is recommended that the above-mentioned measures should be taken immediately in order not to exacerbate the current situation. Great, yeah, so first point though is it's too long. It's 370 words instead of 250, so it's over 100 words more than you needed to write. Where you're not going to be losing points for writing too much, you also don't get any extra points. So I would suggest writing less. Most examiners recommend between 270 and 290 words as being a good length. So it's slightly above the minimum, but don't go over 300 words. Simply because you don't have an awful lot of time, and a better use of your time is to plan carefully what you want to say, write it, and then take time at the end to proofread your work. So although this is very well written, the points you make are very good, there are quite a few little things that I was changing, so you do need to be a little bit more careful, and I think by taking time to proofread, you could have caught some of these little errors yourself. Government always needs to have the, if you're talking about one specific government, or you put government into the plural and talk about governments, but you can't just have the singular form without the. Okay, so I would still give this one a 7, but I think next time it's better if you try to write slightly less. All right, now moving on to the task 1. This is a letter to your neighbor, introducing yourself, describing your plans for your party, and inviting your neighbor to come. So, dear sir or madam is how you've started, and yours faithfully is how you ended. So that's the correct combination. Possibly a little bit too formal for a neighbor, but seeing as though you don't know them, it's best to be more formal than less, to avoid anyone getting upset. So, dear sir or madam, I'm writing in the hope that you could join you don't join to, you just join my housewarming party next week. Don't need on. Next Saturday evening. I am your next door neighbor. It's kind of strange to refer to yourself in the third person, so to talk about who just moved in, you'd say I just moved in is a much more natural way to say it. So, and I just moved in last Sunday. I was the one who was chatting with you while waiting for the elevator a few evenings ago. I hope you remember me, and thank you for sharing some useful information about this neighborhood on that day. Well, you've already said useful, so I'm planning to hold a housewarming party for around 50 people in total. As we have moved into a new house, most of my friends are eager to see the house decorations and renovations. Therefore, we are expecting a large crowd and hope you will not mind the noise which might be produced. The party will start around 5 p.m. and food and drinks will be served at 6 p.m. I would like to invite you to our party to share the joy and happiness together with us. Please do let me know in advance if you have special preferences for food, for example, no beef. I'm looking forward to your positive response. Yours faithfully, Emily. Yeah, very good. That's a nicely written letter. You've covered everything that was required. You've introduced yourself. You've told the plans of the party and you've invited the neighbour to come. So you've covered everything there. A few things that weren't written in the best possible way, but other parts flowed very nicely indeed. The tone is good, it's polite but friendly. So I think you've handled this very well, and I would also give this one a 7. So thank you very much.
Hello. So here we have a task 2, and the question is, some people think that it is better to be self-employed, while others argue that working for a company is better. Discuss both these views and give your own opinion. While many people prefer to work as the employee, if you say the employee, that means there's just one, but there's several employees, so you'd have to say an employee. Instead, while many people prefer to work as an employee instead of being self-employed, as it is more stable and there is nothing to lose as a salaryman. There are other people who want, can't use past tense, this is just in general, so we would use the present simple. There are other people who want to work under their own control, freedom and creativity. In my point of view, I completely believe that working not as a self-employed, working for oneself is the best for an individual and the next generation. I agree that working as an employee is the easiest way to get experience, salary in time, on time, and less responsibility. It is not necessary to have a lot of money to invest or take the risk of losing money. The benefit or losses of the company do not directly affect the employee. Therefore, many people trying so hard to be permanent employees of a company in order to earn a stable income and get promoted. Yeah, so like I said, when you said the employee, same if you say the stable income, then it implies that you're talking about just one specific income, but you're not. You're talking in general, and therefore it's much better to use a stable income. Compared to that, working as being self-employed may not be the best idea as there is no regular income and no guarantee for success. However, firstly, working or being self-employed has no limitation for a person's creativity, and it is not necessary to get the approval from a senior or manager. Secondly, since he is not working for a company, the harder he works, the more income he may get for himself. Lastly, he can pass down his successful business to his next generation. For example, once he becomes a successful trading company owner, his son or daughter will become the owner of the company in no time. In the future, I think is better. Furthermore, even though working for a company is easier to earn a steady income and has less responsibility, once the retirement age is reached, a person will become jobless and may have to worry about how to cover the daily expenses. I feel therefore people should invest their hard work in their own business rather than working as an employee, as they will not need to worry about their future income after retirement age. Okay, so the ideas you have are great. You're making some good points that working for yourself is much more logical than working for someone else. You'll have more financial freedom, more creativity. So the ideas are there and the structure of the essay is good, but there were quite a lot of errors being made. So you need to be a little bit more careful about accuracy. And I would suggest just writing a little bit less than this, because this is over 300 words and the minimum word count is 250. So it's better to stick to under 300 words, around 270 to 290, and really focus on getting your work as accurate as possible. So I would give this one a 6. Okay, now moving on to the task 1. This is a letter to a friend, so it's an informal letter, explaining why you're selling some furniture, describe it, and suggest when your friend can come and see it. So you've started, Dear Cheryl, I'll just move that down. Dear Cheryl, and you finish yours sincerely. So that's too formal. This is an informal letter, so it doesn't need to be quite so formal at the ending. You can just say best regards, because this is a friend. Okay, so Dear Cheryl, I hope you are well and doing great. It is great news that your family
is going to move to New York. Don't say the New York, it's just New York. Going to move to New York, and you have bought a new house. A new house. Similarly, as I said earlier, you don't say the new house because then there would just be one. There's only one house in the world, but this is just one of many houses that are available. The location of your new house is great, and it is only 10 kilometers away from my house. This doesn't need to be capital KM. By the speaking of your new house, I believe you may need some furniture. Then you don't need to say that again. And I would like to sell one of my extra brand queen size bed frames. I bought this bed frame last year in the Christmas sale. Obviously it's a furniture show. It caught my eye and I bought it, not brought it. Brought is the past tense of bring, whereas bought is the past tense of buy. I bought it since it is a pretty green color, which is my favorite color. However, once it was delivered to my home, I realized the size of the bed frame was too big and unable to fit into my room. That's why I would like to sell this bed frame to someone who is in need with a 50% discount of what I paid for it. You may come and take a look anytime in my place, or I can send it to you. I can send a photo to you if you are interested. I'll be free after the 22nd of June if you may wish to come and take a look. I'll be looking forward to your reply and wish you all the best. Best regards to Thet. Yeah, so you have covered everything that was required. You've explained why you're selling and described the furniture and then suggested when they can come see. So that's good. The structure of the letter is logical and you work through each part of the question logically. It's a friendly tone, but just that last part where you said your sincerity didn't match the rest of the letter, so it should be best regards. There were some errors again being made, so again I would give it a 6. Thank you very much. Hello, so here we have a task 1. I would just like to ask next time if you could include the question with your answer so that I know exactly what it's asking you to do and I can make sure that you've covered everything that was asked. So yeah, that would just be a lot easier for me. So anyway, the letter starts, Dear Sir or Madam. Problem is I don't know who you're writing to, so I don't know if that's the correct way to start, but in that you've started Dear Sir or Madam, you finish with yours faithfully, so that is correct. So, Dear Sir or Madam, I'm writing to sincerely apologize for the noise that I caused last week. Doesn't need to be past perfect, past simple is fine, because it was in a specific point in time in the past. The reason for the noise, and now because you're talking about last week, you should be talking in the past. The reason for the noise was that I was doing minimal renovations at home. I just moved in last week, and again, because you told us last week is the point in time that you moved, you need to use the past simple, not the present perfect. You can say, I have just moved and then not tell us exactly when, then we know it's already happened, but we don't know when. But if you give a specific point, then it's the past simple. I just moved in last week. I am still in the midst of moving things around. I'm also hanging up some painting on the wall. All right, I'm still going to make this all past tense. I was still in the midst of moving things around. I was also hanging up some paintings on the wall, and therefore I needed to use a hammer that resulted in a lot of noise. Over the past week. I'm sorry that I did not give any advanced notice or information prior to this. I regret that it came to the point that I have received complaints about this. It was not my intention to cause so much noise. Because of this incident, I promise that I will avoid doing any activity that may disturb my neighbors. That in the future, I will avoid doing any activity that may disturb my neighbors. In addition, I will ask permission from you, or I will give advanced notice if I will be doing any activity that may result in a noisy neighborhood in the future. I hope that you will accept my apologies. Yours faithfully, Karen. Yeah, this is a nice apology letter. You just need to be careful about the use of tenses, just because when you're describing last week, then you should be using the past tense the whole time. You had a combination of past perfect, past present perfect, and it was all a little bit all over the place. So you need to be more careful there. I mean, the content was good, the ideas are good, but you just now need to really focus in and make sure the tenses are correct. So I would give this one a 6 to a 6.5. Now moving on to the task 2, the question is, in many parts of the world, air ticket prices are decreasing. Is this a positive or negative development? Nowadays, air travel is more convenient for both business and tourism, as air tickets have become cheaper and more affordable than before. More people have the chance to travel around the world. I believe that this is a positive trend, and I will state the reasons for my view. The most compelling reason for holding to my view is that the tourist industry is progressing due to the decrease in the air ticket prices. Innumerable numbers of tourists are encouraged to travel to various historical places around the world. As tourism is booming, it generates more job opportunities to all the tourism-related services. For this reason, the development of the tourist industry is enhanced by the decrease of air ticket prices. Another reason for my position is that there will be a deeper cultural understanding. The overseas visitors and the domestic residents will have a chance to appreciate and differentiate between their cultures. However, if air ticket prices will decrease, people will spend more time. Therefore, if air ticket prices decrease, people will spend more time. So you don't need will in traveling. In conclusion, a decrease in air ticket prices results in a positive outcome for the society. This is because its relevance and practical analysis, and the fact this is because of its relevance and practical analysis, and the fact that we can save money on low-cost airfares. Given the situation, it is vital that airlines should still provide a decrease in air ticket prices. Okay, so the first thing I have to say here is this essay is too short. It's only 220 words, where the minimum word count is 250, and unfortunately you are going to lose points for not writing enough. So this is something you really do need to make sure you are following very carefully, because it's a bit silly to lose points just by not writing enough, because your writing is actually pretty good and you deserve a better grade, but you would not get what you deserve because you haven't written enough. So most examiners recommend writing between 270 to 290 words as being like the perfect length. Definitely at least 250, definitely not less. So that's the first point. Secondly, the structure is good. You've got a nice short introduction to the topic, and then you've given reasons why you believe that it's a positive trend, and then there's a conclusion. But this could have been expanded some more to make, firstly, to make the two core paragraphs more well balanced, and then also obviously to add more words to the essay. So yeah, you've used some cohesive devices such as nowadays, another reason, for this reason, in conclusion, therefore. These are good. It helps with the overall flow of the essay. Other phrases you could use are like consequently, although, moreover, things like that help too. So the main point really is next time you need to write more than this, and then just focus on getting it as accurate as possible. So unfortunately, this probably wouldn't get much more than a 6, at the most 6.5. All right, thank you very much. Hello. So here we have a task 1, and it is a letter to your landlord, introducing yourself, explaining what's wrong with the furniture, and saying what action you would like the landlord to take. So you've started the letter, Dear Cyril Madam, which is okay, and you finish with yours faithfully, which is the correct combination. So, Dear Cyril Madam, my name is Christoffer, and I live in one of the units. Because you're saying one of, that implies there's more than one, and therefore this needs to be plural. I live in one of the units in your apartment. Even though I am pleased with the cost and the privileges in your flat, several of the amenities are of substandard. 2 weeks ago, the water heater broke down and is now unusable. I tried to troubleshoot, but was unable to make it heat up. The next day, one of the chair legs unexpectedly shattered when my son sat on it, because you're talking about something that's already happened. It needs to be the past tense. After 4 days, the air conditioner suddenly broke off. I tried to turn it on and off, but it would not start. Wow, there's a lot of problems. They're not actually all, the only thing I would say is they're not all pieces of furniture. It does specifically say you're not satisfied with some of the furniture. You mention a chair, which is furniture, but then the water heater and the air conditioner don't really qualify as furniture. So in that it is quite specific in the question, I would try and make your answer as specific according to those conditions. So it would have been better to talk about maybe the bed or the cupboard or a chair. They're all pieces of furniture, but stay away from the appliances. Water heater is an appliance, air conditioner is an appliance, it's not a piece of furniture. Immediately after every event, I went down to your office and spoke with one of your staff. He said that he would, because what he actually said was probably, oh, I will send a replacement, but when you're reporting that speech, then it comes back a tense and becomes would. He said that he would send the replacement as soon as possible. Since then, I have been to your office to follow up the issue with your staff. Yesterday, he said that spares were not available. Until now, no replacement has been made. This has been a very disappointing experience for me and my family. It would be helpful if I could buy the item first and claim reimbursement from you. Please call my local number as soon as you read my letter. I await your immediate response. Yours faithfully, Christoffer Julian. Yeah, so you've covered everything, but like I say, you haven't specifically focused on furniture, so you need to be careful about doing that. Make sure you do answer the question specifically. And then there were some tense issues, so I would give this a 6. So then moving on to the task 2, the question is, people are spending more time on sport and exercise these days. Is this a positive or negative development? Men and women are spending, I know spending is the word, more time on, I know spending is the same word as the question and you wanted to change it, but taking up is not quite the right term to use. So they're spending more time on competitive games and physical activities. In my opinion, this is a positive situation. Good. That's a nice, clear, concise introduction. The most compelling reason for holding to my view is that it boosts a healthier lifestyle. Firstly, participating in sports and exercising yields better lungs and heart power. Secondly, this will prevent individuals from having medical conditions and chronic health issues. With this, it will stop us from visiting hospitals. Visiting a hospital is when you go there to see somebody else. So it's not about visiting the hospital, but from being admitted to hospitals. Another reason for my position is that the human body will use the fat stored as its fuel when doing low intensity exertions. Hence, it will result in weight loss. For example, this doesn't need to be a capital letter. For example, in a marathon, a runner needs to be light in order to be competitive. The same applies to other sports and workouts. Lastly, participating in energetic activities promotes camaraderie, creates bonds between individuals. In companies, it uses activity with physical exertion. In companies, they can use sport with physical exertion in order to promote a healthier body and mind. With this comes less stress for the employed person. In conclusion, physical recreation and workouts are favorable to individuals. This is because it promotes a healthier lifestyle and camaraderie. Okay. The points you make are good, but the first thing I have to say is it's too short. This is only 188 words where you are asked to write 250 words. So you're falling quite far short of what you were expected to write. And unfortunately, this is going to count against you. So, because one of the task requirements is to write at least 250 words. So if you don't do that, you lose points in that one section. So that would be kind of a silly way to lose points. So you want to always make sure you're writing at least the minimum word count, if not slightly more. Most examiners actually recommend writing between 270 and 290 words, just to be safe. So even though you've got good ideas, you're going to not score as highly as you should because you're not writing enough. And then there were a few things that weren't quite right, like visiting hospitals. Visiting is a verb that we use when we're going to see someone, not actually being treated for an illness. So just be careful with the choice of verbs. And then various other little things that I needed to change. So unfortunately, it won't get more than a 6 simply because you haven't written enough. So next time, make sure that's your focus to write at least 250 words. Okay.
Hello. So here we have a task 1, and it is a letter to your course tutor describing why you cannot continue your course and saying what action you would like to take. So you've started the letter, Dear Mr. Coe, and you finish yours sincerely. So that's the correct combination for this kind of formal letter where you know the name of the person you are addressing. So, Dear Mr. Coe, I'm writing to bring your attention to some issues concerning my course and why I need to pull out, not break off, or I would like to, why I need to stop for a while. I'm currently working as a full-time staff at McDonald's. This job includes various activities from taking orders, billing, and preparing food items as per the prescribed standards of the food chain. From time to time, I also need to figure some issues. I need to solve some issues like customer complaints, missed orders, not missed out, missed orders and delayed delivery systems, which has caused me a lot of pressure in the store. I'm sorry that I'm able to continue my course because I always end up exhausted from my job, which results in not participating properly in the various class activities. In addition, I also missed some of the lessons that you taught over the previous weeks, and it
has been hard for me to catch up to the next lesson. However, I really find your teaching techniques very unique and I have learned a lot from you. I believe that the best way to rectify this situation is by prioritizing my job first. Because of this, I can earn money and sustain my family's financial needs. I look forward to receiving your response. Yours sincerely, Mary Ann Mamangun. Yeah, so you've explained very clearly why you cannot continue with the course, and so you've described the situation in that you are very busy at work, and because of that being busy, you can't continue, and then and the action is that you are going to stop taking the course. So you've covered everything. Your language is mostly very accurate. You express yourself very well. So I would give this one a 7. Now, moving on to the task 2. The question is, technologies like the computer and telephone have made it easier to work from home. What do you think are the advantages and disadvantages of working from home? In this century, the invention of technology has changed people's lives. The advent of the internet and networking solutions has made it possible for people to work from their home instead of offices. While this offers a few advantages, there are also some disadvantages which are worth considering. Good, so that's a nice introduction. You've told us what the topic is and that you believe that there are both advantages and disadvantages. There are 2 main benefits to people in using technology like computer and telephone. Like a computer and telephone. The main one is that the idea of working at home increases productivity and decreases stress. Working at home saves on many hidden costs associated with going to work. That's a great phrase to use, hidden costs, and it's a very accurate term to use in this context, so that's very good. These include costs of commuting, road taxes, fuel, and parking fees. In addition, it can save time and energy. For example, a working mum can enjoy and spend time with her, because you're talking about one working mum. Mum is a little bit too informal for this kind of IELTS essay, so I would advise you to use the more formal term of mother. Similarly, if you shouldn't use kid, you should use child. So just keep the language up on a formal level and don't use anything too informal. So, for example, a working mother can enjoy and spend time with her children. Consequently, companies encourage their employees to work from home so they can save money, give flexibility, more opportunities, and a better work-life balance in the long run. Good. So those are good points to make. Saving on hidden costs, again, I'll say that. I love that phrase. Increasing productivity, decreasing stress, great terms to use. However, various drawbacks may be noted. A major disadvantage is that people who work from home cannot socialize with their colleagues. Interruptions may also occur from children or unexpected visits from friends, relatives, or neighbors. Furthermore, a lot can change from day to day in a company, and an employee may find himself, don't address the reader as you. That again is a little bit too informal. Always keep it more detached and talk about people in general or an employee, just to be a little bit more generalize rather than you will find yourself removed. So an employee may find himself removed from important developments such as new staff changes, company policies, and updates about new business. Additionally, the development opportunities are much less when you are away from the office. In conclusion, based on the arguments explored above, I believe that in most cases it is actually more beneficial for one to work in an office in order to be more productive. Just to avoid using work twice in the same sentence, you always want to vary the vocabulary you use and not repeat yourself at all if possible, but as little as possible. So, like I say, you've got some great phrases: the hidden cost, increasing productivity, decreasing stress, consequently flexibility, interruptions. These are all really good terms and all relevant to the topic. So clearly you have a good grasp on the language and you're able to use it quite fluently to express your ideas. Just be careful about using terms that are too informal, like mom. Just stick to the more formal terms. But otherwise, I think you've done a very good job here. I would definitely give this a 7, possibly a 7.5, but probably more likely a 7. So well done. Thank you very much. Hello. So here we have a task 2, and the question is, these days children watch a lot of TV. Why is this happening, and what can be done to address this problem? Nowadays, many children around the world are addicted to TV and spend a lot of time watching it. Not on, just spend a lot of time watching it. You don't need to repeat TV. There are a number of causes of this, but certain steps could be taken in order to improve the situation. Good, that's a nice, clear, concise introduction. Now I've just put a line of space between the introduction and the next paragraph, and I would suggest doing that between each paragraph, simply because it makes it so much easier for the examiner to read it, and you want to help the examiner as much as possible to put them in a good mood. So yeah, just space it out in the exam as well. Leave spaces between the paragraphs so we can see where one finishes and the next one begins. So there are several causes why children spend too much time watching TV. The first reason is children's early exposure to it. Nowadays, the world is getting more industrialized, and consumer electronic products such as TVs are produced in mass amounts, and so they are getting cheaper, and almost every family can afford to buy one. As a result, almost every child starts to watch TV from a young age. And this could lead to a situation where they like it too much and become addicted. The second reason is that the busy lifestyle of adults and parents could result in children spending more time alone with the TV. For example, in accordance with my own experience, when my parents had too much workload and spent longer hours in the office, I was left with not many choices except for watching TV and waiting for my parents to come home. Thirdly, there are many commercial TV channels for children. I would suggest not using a term like kids, it's too informal, so children is better, which broadcast 24 hours of the day and 7 days a week. And these channels attract so much attention from children. Okay, that's enough. Several suggestions could be given in order to tackle the above issue. First of all, parents should control the time duration that children spend watching TV. For instance, by setting a maximum daily time limit for the children to watch TV or just watch, and diverting their attention to do other things such as playing outdoors, the children's interest in TV can be greatly reduced. Secondly, parents should train their children from a young age to have some hobbies which can benefit their mental and physical well-being. For instance, if the parents practice reading books to their babies, it is more likely that these babies will be fond of reading books when they get older, which will help them gain some knowledge. In conclusion, children spend too much time on TV, and this can result in more harm than positive benefits. Therefore, it is the responsibility of parents to give what is supposed to be the best for their children. By training and guiding children properly, they can grow up into great people who can contribute not only to their own family, but also to the whole society. Whew, that's a very long essay. This is 411 words instead of 250, so you've gone way over what you were required to do. What I worry is that you didn't do this under time conditions, and that is one of the keys to doing these practice tests, is to do it under time conditions, because anybody can write a great essay if they take 1 or 2 hours to do it, but if you're doing it within the 40 minutes, then and being very strict with that and stopping when the 40 minutes is up, then you have a more realistic idea of what you can achieve in that time frame. Because it's really not very long. I don't think you'll be able to write such a long essay, because you need to plan and then write and then proofread your work before you hand in the test. Avoid using informal terms such as kids. Also avoid repeating the same terms too often. You don't need to keep saying TV, TV, TV. I've left a lot of them in there, but a lot of them could be taken out. Yeah, just to avoid too much repetition. This paragraph is much too long. You've kind of repeated a lot of the same ideas that could be condensed and much more. So I think you would still get a 7 for this, but next time I would definitely suggest writing a lot less and focusing more on accuracy. All right, now moving on to the task 1. This is a letter to your landlord, introducing yourself, explain what's wrong with the furniture, and say what action you would like the landlord to take. So, dear landlord is how you've started, and you finish with yours, but it should be yours faithfully. Yeah, so you need to make sure yours is not quite complete. We're quite strict about how to write particularly formal letters, so you do need to make sure you're following the strict rules that we have. So, dear landlord, this is Wai Wai, who rents your house. Now, don't refer to yourself in the third person as who. Talk about yourself as I am renting your house at Dunbar Avenue. In fact, we met each other for signing the rental agreement in the town centre 1 month ago. Now we have already moved in to the house and started living there for about 2 weeks, and have been living there for about 2 weeks. You can't start something for 2 weeks, so it's better just to say have been living. We all settled into your house quite smoothly, and my kids enjoy the big living room and playing in the backyard. And you don't need to say of your house, because we know that's what you're talking about. Overall, the conditions of the house are really good, except for some issues relating to the furniture. One issue we faced was the glass top dining table in the living room, which has a broken edge on one side. As this is a glass type table, the edge is very sharp and it imposes a great risk for my children as they like to play around in the living room. The second problem is that the door frame of the wardrobe in the master bedroom is broken, and the wardrobe could not be completely closed. As it is only a wardrobe in the master bedroom, and I would like to use it to keep important documents and items and lock the wardrobe properly. As it is only a wardrobe, no. So I would like to use it to keep important documents and items and lock the wardrobe properly. However, given the current situation, the current condition, it has to be left open all the time. Or as these issues are related to safety concerns of my children and the house, I would like to request your immediate attention to settle them. For the dining table, it would be great if you can replace with a new one, as the broken glass top will not be able to be fixed easily. For the repair of the master bedroom wardrobe, I believe a handyman can fix it, and if you could arrange the appointment for the handyman to come down to the house and repair the door during the weekend, it would be very helpful for us. I'm really looking forward to your reply and hope that I will receive one soon. Yours faithfully. So again, this is too long. This is 300 words instead of 150. And again, I would say you didn't do this in 20 minutes. So again, please do these under time conditions. Stick closer to the word count, the minimum word count, and focus on making it as accurate as possible. You have answered the question in over the top detail, which really wasn't necessary. You could have condensed that a lot more. But having said that, I would still give it a 7. All right, thank you very much.
Hi. So here we have a task 2, and the question is, some people say everyone can create art, while others argue this is a special ability and people are born with it. Discuss both these views and give your own opinion. While some would argue that anyone has the ability anyone is one word, has the ability to produce artistic works, others hold the opinion that such aesthetic skills are based on artistic talent that is inborn in people. In my opinion, the ability to generate art is more of a gifted skill that not everyone possesses. Good, that's a nice introduction, very clear to the point. On one side of the argument, there are people who put forward the view that art is in the eye of the beholder and anybody has the capability to make artwork. The most compelling reason for believing this is that there are no rules in the world of art. This is because art is different from other hardcore subjects like maths or science. It does not have a single unique answer. For instance, a famous art piece entitled Hue by a renowned painter showcased 3 different hues of red, and that painting sold for millions of dollars. Another reason is that the ability to communicate through art has been around since the beginning of mankind. Back in the days of cavemen, early people were using wall drawings to communicate with others, and it was part of the survival skills. This ability to draw has been passed down through the genes and traditions, which has resulted in people having the potential to design, paint, and draw. Despite the above arguments, I hold the view that artistic capability is more of a gift for some people. Indeed, one reason why I take this position is that there are differences between an art piece that is pleasing to the eye and one which is an eyesore. Someone with an aesthetically in-tune vision will be able to create a work that can complement the trend and fashion at the time. He or she knows how to balance the contrast and factors that will stand out as an outstanding piece of art and withstand the test of time. Furthermore, it is my opinion that an experienced artisan crafts his masterpiece by visualizing the end product in his mind without much effort, compared to a novice who may be mimicking someone else's work. It is quite common to see those artist wannabes copying the great works of famous artists, but they are not able to produce another new trend that can change the taste of people in terms of art appreciation. For example, in Singapore, it is common to see budding artists following the style of successful painters, but those art pieces are just mere duplicates without any innovation. In conclusion, while both views are commonly held in society, I believe that aptitude in art is more of a nature than nurture. This is because there is a vast disparity in a masterful piece of art and one that is merely following the trend of previous successes. All right, now that's a really beautifully written essay. Obviously, you've got a really good way with words. You know how to express yourself very well. I would just say it's too long. It's 459 words, which is so far beyond the 250 word mark that you were asked for, where you're not going to be penalized for writing too much. You also don't gain any extra points, and I worry that perhaps you didn't do this in the 40-minute time frame, which is important to do for these practice tests. You do need to time yourself and make sure you are able to use the time wisely, because a better use of time would be to plan, write, and then proofread. So maybe you do write very quickly and think very quickly, but still it's not worth writing quite so much. And as you did mention at the end, you said, should I just try writing one main point for each of the paragraphs? Yes, in that you've written so much, I definitely would say this part, all about the cavemen, it's not really relevant because it's not talking about skill or anything relevant to the
topic. All it's saying is that people have always done drawing, but we know that. So that whole section could be taken out. And down here, again, you could take out the second part. All this could be taken out. It's just really another example. Or you could have that and take out the first part, because the examples of artists duplicating other ones is quite good, but it's too long, it's too much. So like you have obviously realized you've given too much information in each section. So definitely cut back on the amount of words you're writing, but what you've written is great, and there really wasn't very much that I needed to change. So obviously language is not really an issue for you, and I would give this a 7.5 to an 8. So that's very good. Now moving on to the task 1. This is looking at a graph about goods transported in the UK. So the line graph illustrates data about the number of products, not produces, in million tons that were ferried around in the United Kingdom by 4 different methods of transportation over a 28-year period from 1974 to 2002. I would put a gap there. Overall, we can see that there were upward trends in the amount of goods transported by road, water, and pipeline, while the quantities of merchandise carried on trains remained roughly the same over the entire period. To begin with, the number of wares delivered using roads started at approximately 70 million tons in 1974, and the growth fluctuated over the time period until it reached close to 100 million tons of goods in 2002. As for pipeline mode of transportation, it started low, you don't need to say low and lower. It started at a much lower tonnage of roughly 5 million tons in 1974, and it grew steadily over the years until it hit just above 20 million tons in 2002. This figure was less than 5 times the amount transported via vehicles. Vehicles, 5 times, sorry. It started at 5 and grew to 20. So when you're looking at 5 times road vehicles, because they're all vehicles, you can't just use the term vehicles, because everything, a boat is a vehicle, a train is a vehicle. It's just, vehicle is just a general term for something that you travel inside of. The number of loads sent using locomotive methods started roughly the same as water transportation at around 40 million tons in 1974. However, it experienced a gradual decline from 1978, where its amount fell below that of waterway transportation. The figure fluctuated for more than a decade until 1994, where it slowly climbed back to roughly its original value in 2002. Okay, good. But again, too long. This one is 220 words instead of 150. So obviously you do like to write a lot, but try and condense it a little bit. But you've covered everything in quite good detail. There was just one point at the end where you slipped out of the past tense into the present, but it should be the past tense the whole way through, because obviously all these years are in the past. So make sure you do use the right tenses. But otherwise, I think you've done a good job, and I would give this one a 7.5. Okay, thank you very much.
Hello. So here we have a task 2, and the question is, nowadays the amount of garbage we produce is increasing, and this is becoming a global problem. What are the reasons for this, and what can be done to solve this problem? The alarming increase of garbage all over the world has become a nationwide problem for most countries. There are several causes of this, but certain measures could be taken to mitigate this problem. Okay, I would just change problem there to issue, just because you've already used problem here and you don't want to repeat the same term within such a short space. But otherwise, that's a good introduction to the topic. It's very clear and concise. So various factors are responsible for the above situation. One of the major reasons is the lack of people's support on the government's support for the government's waste management programs. This is because there is no absolute mandate that goes concurrently with these programs. In addition, misconceptions of most people on the use of organic products for packaging have halted the phasing out of plastics. This has kept plastic products as an item for daily household use. What needs to be done to tackle the above is to get both the government and the people to work together. Firstly, the government could develop various approaches to achieve a workable waste management program that can be applied to both urban and rural areas. For instance, conducting seminars, implementation of incentive programs, and media campaigns can help people to understand the importance of supporting this movement and be educated on the correct approach to alleviate the problem. Furthermore, issuance of penalties like community service and jail terms for delinquents could also be carried out to discipline the people. Good. In conclusion, the fact that the garbage has become a nationwide problem everywhere The fact is that garbage has become a nationwide problem everywhere, but this situation could be addressed by spreading awareness and encouraging people to become an advocate or a supporter. They both mean the same thing, so you don't need both. A supporter of environmental programs. Given this situation, it is imperative that the government of each country takes a firm action to ensure that their citizens will continuously support recycling campaigns, use of biodegradable materials, and follow other environment-friendly solutions to improve the garbage situation worldwide. Very, very good. Yeah, this is a great answer to the question. You've identified the reasons in that you say there's no mandate to make sure that people are following waste management programs, and that the way to solve this problem would be to have seminars and incentive programs, as well as some penalties for those who don't follow it. So these are great ideas, all very related to the topic. Obviously, you do understand about environmental issues, and you probably feel quite strongly about it. So you've got the right vocabulary to explain the situation, and you've got great ideas on what could be done to help. So the essay is structured very well. The introduction is very short and to the point, and the conclusion sums everything up very well. And then the two core paragraphs cover both parts of the question in turn. So this is a very good way to tackle this kind of question. You've used some linking words such as firstly, furthermore, in conclusion. So these are all great. So I would give this a 7.5, possibly an 8. So well done. That's very good. Hello. So here we have a task 1, and it is a letter to your neighbor, introducing yourself, describing your plans for the party, and inviting your neighbor to come. So you've started the letter, Dear Mr. Thompson, and you finish yours faithfully, but this is not correct.
The correct one would be sincerely. We have very strong rules, strict rules about letter writing, and particularly for formal letters. When you start the letter with dear sir or madam, then the ending is yours faithfully. However, if you start with the name of the person, like this one, Mr. Thompson, then it should be yours sincerely. And there's no leeway on this. That is the rule, and you must stick to it. And part of what you're being tested on here is knowing those rules. So make sure you brush up on those and make sure you understand when to use which one. So, dear Mr. Thompson, hello. I am Mr. Singh. I am your new neighbor. Okay, these are very short sentences. I am Mr. Singh, your new neighbor. I work as a software developer for Apple, and we are a family of 5. I'm sure we will share a good, I'm sure we can be good and cooperative neighbors. So just don't make your sentences too short, because it really does break up the natural flow of the writing, and you want to make it sound as natural as possible. So you can see how I've combined things to make it flow better. I'm going to throw a party this Sunday, and I'm writing this letter to invite you and your family to come. The party venue will be my house. All of my friends, relatives, colleagues, and old neighbors will come. We will be pleased to have your presence there. Firstly, at 8 p.m., the children will dance to the tunes of a DJ. Meanwhile, we can socialize and get familiar with each other. The dinner will start at 9 p.m. and there will be both vegetarian and non-vegetarian options available. However, I have one concern. There will be some loud music at the party, which will be stopped when the dinner starts. I hope you will not mind the noise. However, if you are concerned about it, then please let me know so that I can make the necessary changes in the plan well in advance. I look forward to meeting you at the party. Yours sincerely, Mr. Singh. Yeah, so you've answered the question, you've introduced yourself, you've described the plans for the party, and then you've invited the neighbor to come. So you've covered everything there. But like I say, that first section, the sentences were much too short, and so it just really didn't flow naturally. As it went into the next part here, it was much better. The sentences were longer, it sounded more natural. So just be aware of that. And Apple is a name of a brand, and so it should always be a capital A at the beginning. But otherwise, I think you've done a good job, and I would give this a 7 to a 7.5. Now, moving on to the task 2, the question is, some say that music is as important as other subjects in school, especially at the preschool level. Do you agree or disagree? In today's dynamic world, one of the most controversial issues is whether music is an integral part of a human being's life. Okay. Don't need, however. From my personal point of view, it is a good idea to implement music in preschool as a subject. Okay. So there was some little bit of confusion what you were trying to say there. Try and keep the introduction very clear and to the point. So the topic is really about, it's not a controversial issue necessarily, it's just saying that music is important at school. So, but if you want to refer to it as controversial, that's okay, is whether music is an integral part of human beings' life. But you then went on, and I took that part out because an integral part means it's important, so you didn't need to go on and say that it was important. That's enough as like that to have just short, to the point, and clear. To begin with, music gives an ecstatic sigh of happiness, not a sigh, feeling of happiness, and provides entertainment in one's life, as people are always fond of indulging in a plethora of activities such as listening to music and learning to play instruments. In relation to preschool level kids, it teaches them how to be a disciplined pupil and become successful in life. Music assists the kids. Oh, here. Don't use the term kids, it's too informal. So music assists the students, so that we're not repeating children too much. Music assists the students to develop and broaden their minds. Thus, teaching music from an early age may open the door of success in life, as today's children can be a prominent musician in the future. Today's children can be prominent musicians, because children is plural in the future, and then we don't need as well. To further emphasize on my view, music brings peace and harmony in life, and it can be a major source of intellectual and personal development of the students. The young generation, from their young age, then we don't need to. The young generation can benefit from learning traditional music, culture, and customs, which are in danger of extinction due to the arrival of the latest technology. However, on the other side of the fence, there are some pitfalls of formulating music in early stages of life. In conclusion, music welcomes the good qualities in life, and it leads the children to success. I would say music is a repository of all the merits, and it can be utilized at any stage of life. Okay, now you've just thrown in here that there might be some pitfalls, but you don't elaborate on that. And that's not a good idea. Don't mention anything that you're not going to expand on. It's not a good practice. You need to really, whatever points you're making, you need to expand on them and explain them as much as you can. Don't just throw out an idea and don't explain it properly. So because you're not saying what the pitfalls all are, it's better just to take that part out. So there were some spelling mistakes, there were a few errors. So I would give this one a 6.5 to a 7. Okay, thank you very much. Hi, so here we have a task 1, and it is a letter to your neighbor, introducing yourself, describing your plans for the party, and inviting your neighbor to come. So you've started the letter, dear sir or madam, which is a little bit too formal, but if you don't know their name, it's probably best to be more formal than not. So I'm going to leave it. And finishing with yours faithfully is the correct combination with dear sir or madam, so that's correct.
So, dear Sir or Madam, I'm writing to you. I'm writing to invite you to my housewarming party. Oops. Which is scheduled for next Sunday. My name is Karamjeet Singh. I am your next door neighbor. Okay, that's two very short sentences that could be combined. So I would put and. My name is Karanjeet Singh and I am your next door neighbor. Last Tuesday, or I just moved here last Tuesday. And I think you might remember me as yesterday we met at the bus stop near to our house while we were waiting for a bus. I enjoyed talking to you. It's not really a pleasant surprise because, yeah, you just met someone. It's not a surprise, but it was a pleasant experience. I would like to inform you that I'm holding a party as a housewarming at my home on this coming Sunday at around 5:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. I would invite all my relatives and neighbors and will provide different types of food, games and music. I will ensure that the music is not too loud, so I hope you do not mind. Kindly accept my invitation and I hope you will enjoy this party with your family. I'm looking forward to your positive response. Okay, this answers the question. You've introduced yourself, you've told them about the party, and you've invited them to come. So you've covered everything that was required. You've got the correct combination of the greeting and the sign off. But there were some things in there that weren't written in the best possible way, and some of your sentences are just too short. You need to work at trying to make it sound more natural. So I would give this one a 6. All right, now moving on to the task 2. The topic is, nowadays the amount of garbage we produce is increasing and this is becoming a global problem. What are the reasons for this and what can be done to solve this problem? Now a present time. We can't say now a present time. So you could say, in these present times, garbage is a major problem in all countries. However, some countries are experiencing worse than others, worse situations than others. There are many causes such as a lot of people using plastic
products that cannot be easily decomposed, not damaged. This spreads rubbish. I will discuss some viewpoints which are worth considering in the following paragraphs. Okay, there were quite a few things I needed to change in that paragraph. It wasn't written in the best way. Some of your sentences were too short and others just were not written very clearly. There are several causes of this situation. The main one is that poor waste management causes environmental issues. There are a lot of items that we use every day and then get rid of them by throwing them in the dustbin. This causes increasing garbage. Various possible courses of action could be taken in order to tackle the above. In the first place, the government should ban plastic bottles. For example, these days, people use lack number of disposal in party and that place try to use permanent pots. People use instead of disposable items in order to be able to refill them rather than throw them away. In conclusion, despite the emerging new technologies for solid waste management, landfilling is still the most common solution. In order to save the environment, it is recommended that steps should be taken immediately in order to clear the garbage. All right, this is really not very well written. It's not clear. Your argument is a little bit all over the place, and the essay is too short. That's the key point. It's only 189 words instead of 250, so you're falling quite far short of what you should be writing, and that is going to count against you. So that's the first thing you need to really work on. Make sure you're writing at least 250 words, if not slightly more. Most examiners actually recommend between 270 to 290 words as being the best length. So definitely try and be over the minimum. And then your argument is just not cohesive. I changed a lot of things. I didn't understand a lot of things. So unfortunately, this probably wouldn't get more than a 5, I'm afraid. So there's a lot of work you need to do on that. And like I say, first thing you need to do is write more. Okay, thank you very much.
Hello. So here we have a task 1, and it is a letter to your neighbor, introducing yourself, describing your plans for a party, and inviting your neighbor to come. So you've started the letter, dear Mr. and Mrs. Victor, which is correct, and you finish with yours sincerely. So that's the correct combination. You just needed an S on your but otherwise that's correct. So, dear Mr. and Mrs. Victor, I'm writing to introduce myself to you and your family. My name is Manny, and I am your next door neighbor. I have just moved in 5 days ago. Okay, so you're telling us when it happened, so it needs to be the past simple. I just moved in 5 days ago. Currently, I'm unpacking my house stuff. Full stop. I came once to your home, but there was no one there. After that, I have not had time to meet up personally with you. Okay, so just a few tense issues there to explain the different timings when things happened. I'm holding a small party in my garden on this coming Saturday at 6 p.m. onwards. The main reason for this party is to get to know my neighbors and also to introduce my family to you and your family to you. We will be having all kinds of Western food and drinks, including some games and music to not enlighten the party, to brighten the party. Please accept this as a personal invitation for the party. It also gives my family a chance to know yours. It will be a wonderful day since I'm inviting a few of our neighbors. I'm really looking forward to have a wonderful time with you and your family. Yours sincerely, Manny. Good, so the start was a little bit rocky there, but after a while you got into the flow of it and the rest of the letter flowed very well. You've covered everything that was required. You've introduced yourself, described the party, and invited your neighbor to come. So I think you've handled the topic very well, and I would give this one a 7. Now moving on to the task 2. The question is, some people say that mobile phones should be banned in public places such as libraries, shops, and public transport. To what extent do you agree or disagree? It is said by some, no. It is believed by some that mobile phones should be banned in public places such as libraries, shops, and public transport. I completely disagree with this opinion, and in this essay I will state the reasons for my view. Good. That's a nice introduction, very clear. You tell us what the topic is and you give your opinion on it. So that's great. The most compelling reason for holding to my view is that mobile phones have become a necessity for many people around the world. This is because gone are the days when mobile phones were considered to be luxury items not to have with. Luxury items. And you have to use were because we were talking about the past. You said gone are the days, which means it's already gone past, and therefore you need to use the past tense. It is now the main communication tool for everyone. Not only communication, but it also helps to do lots of other things with the mobile applications, such as bank transfers, emails, and other useful things. It has become our lifestyle as we cannot live without it. Another reason for disagreeing with the statement is that there are
Lots of ways to prevent disturbance in public places by mobile phones. For example, instead of banning them, we can educate the people to put their mobile on silent mode. Don't start a sentence with the word also. It's quite a weak word, and it's okay within a sentence, but to start a sentence with that, it doesn't start well. So moreover is a better term. Moreover, separate corners could be allocated for the usage of mobile phones, such as having a separate room in libraries for those who want to use their mobile phones. Another way is to put necessary signage is to have necessary signage to make the public aware of the disturbance from the usage of mobile phones in certain areas. In conclusion, I totally disagree with the opinion of banning mobile phones in public places. This is because mobile phones are a necessity in our current life, and there are ways to use them without disturbing the public. Instead of banning, we should educate the people to use mobile phones without in a reasonable manner. Okay, good. There were quite a few errors being made. I mean, the basic ideas are there. The structure of the essay is good, but there were some grammatical issues that I needed to fix. But yeah, like I said, the introduction is good. You've told us your opinion on the topic, and then you give 2 core paragraphs giving 2 reasons why you disagree, and then you've concluded by summing all the information up, which is a good way to handle this kind of topic. Yeah, and the reasons that you give are that we need our mobile phones, and there could be separate places to use them instead of completely banning them. So that's a reasonable argument. So yeah, just a few issues with the grammar that you need to look at. Make sure you understand my corrections. So I would give this one a 6 or a 6.5. Thank you very much. Hello. So here we have a task 2, and the question is, some experts claim that it is important to teach children the skill of handwriting. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Around the world, parents does not need to be a capital P. Parents are advised by educationalists to teach their children the skill of good handwriting. A person with good handwriting shows the kind of work he puts into shows the effort he puts into his work and real life. I strongly believe this is very helpful for children in order to achieve their goals in academics. Okay, that's the introduction. I left a line of space in between the introduction and the next paragraph just to make it easier to read and show where the paragraphs start and stop. So that's a good, clear introduction to the topic. You've told us that people believe that handwriting is a good skill to have, and you agree with that. The main reason for improvising, it's not improvising, but improving handwriting is children are able to present their ideas in a clear manner in exams, and they can impress examiners with their handwriting, and they have a chance to get extra marks for it. Now in the world, everything has become competitive. To get school admission for children or to get university admission for a teenager, they need good academic scores and top ranks in entrance examinations. If we teach good handwriting skills from an early age, children will be able to learn easily, and that will be helpful for their future endeavors. Not and the other thing, that's not very well said. Moreover, again, not improvised. Good handwriting will help children to improve their artistic skills like painting, drawing, etc. Don't start a sentence with the word and. You could just go straight into the. The way you write tells a lot about who you are as a person and whether you can help others to understand more and be able to form questions. Effective writing is one of the best ways to promote oneself. Don't use yourself, because then that's too personal, it's too direct to the person reading. We want to talk more in general, be more detached from the reader. Effective writing is one of the best ways to promote oneself. By looking at handwriting, people will estimate the capabilities of a person in real life. Paragraphs which are written in a sloppy manner showcase the indolent nature of a person. Good handwriting helps to not only develop a good personality, but it also helps to keep a person focused and motivated. It is even said that good handwriting actually helps in better learning. Good, so that's a nice short conclusion, which is quite punchy, and that's a good way to finish the essay. The beginning is also nice and short and to the point, and then the two core paragraphs show various reasons why you feel handwriting is important. So you talk about exams, trying to get into entrance exams into different schools, that good handwriting would help a student stand out. And then also you feel that good handwriting can be an indication of the type of person they are. You can read into that, and it definitely used to be the case. People would analyze handwriting and be able to tell you all about your personality from it. These days we are using computers more and more, but you're right, it's still an important skill to have. So you've written a convincing argument in favor of handwriting. The structure of the essay is good. You've used some cohesive devices such as, well, I changed moreover. Don't start sentences with and also, they're not so good. But by, looking, it is even said, they're good phrases. You could use other ones like consequently, moreover, although, however, therefore. These are all good terms to use. So for this one, I would give it a 6 or a 6.5. Now moving on to the task 1. This is a letter to an English-speaking friend explaining why you've moved, describe the new house, and invite your friend to come and visit. So
So you started the letter, dear Sravani, and you finished by saying best regards. So that's fine. There aren't particularly strict rules about informal letters. It's pretty relaxed. You can say what you like, but that's a good combination. So dear Sravani, I hope you and your family are doing well. I heard from John that you've changed your job. How is your new job going on? So you can't talk about in the past about a new thing. So the new thing is a present thing, so it should be in the present tense. How is your new job going on? Don't start a sentence with and. I am writing this to inform you that I have recently moved to the central area new apartment block. I think you would only be in one block, so you don't need to have plural. Every morning it was very hard to travel from my old home to my office. It was taking 45 to 50 minutes to reach my office, and the trains were also very crowded in the morning peak hours. I decided to move to the central area so that I can reduce travel time to 10 minutes. The new home is located near to the central business district, and I can walk to my office in the morning. It hardly takes 10 minutes to reach the office, and all the grocery shops and wet markets are 5 minutes walkable distance. Again, don't start a sentence with and. The home is super spacious for me and my girlfriend, comma. It's fully furnished, not furnitured, furnished, and equipped with air conditioners in all rooms. I know you're busy with your new role, but it's been a long time since we sat together for dinner. I would be glad if you could come over for dinner this weekend. See you at the weekend. Best regards, Sravan. Sravani and Sravan. Good. So you've answered the question. You've explained why you've moved, described the new house, and invited your friend to come visit. So you covered all of the parts in the topic. But there were, it doesn't flow all that well. There's quite a few things that were not quite right. So I would give this one a 6. Thank you very much. Hello. So here we have a letter to your manager explaining why you want to take some time off work, giving details of the amount of time and how your work could be covered. Dear Madam, Madam, this is your manager that you work in an office with, and so you would know her name. So I would name her Ms. Gray, and then you can use yours sincerely. If you were to use Madam or Sir, then it should actually be yours faithfully. But in this situation, I do believe you would know the name of your own manager. So you need to read the question quite carefully and make sure that you do write appropriate to the situation that you're given. So, dear Mrs. Gray, I'm writing to request some time off from work. I'm writing to request some
urgent time off from work. The reason for this request is because I will be flying back to my country to care for my father. He is in the hospital due to having a cardiac arrest. I need to take an urgent leave of absence from June 17th, 2017 to July 31st, 2017. I have made arrangements with my colleagues to swap shifts in the event that the urgent leave might not be approved. I have also endorsed important cases to my work buddies to ensure that these cases will be attended to while I'm away. I would be very grateful if you can grant my request for the urgent leave on the said dates. Thank you for your kind consideration. Yours sincerely, Sheila. So Sheila, this is good. However, it's not long enough. It's only 138 words where it should be 150, and unfortunately you will lose points for not writing enough. So always make sure you write at least the minimum word count, if not slightly more, definitely never less. So yeah, unfortunately you're not going to score as highly as you should do, because this is actually a well-written letter, but because it's not long enough, it's going to bring you down a notch. So probably at the most it would get a 6.5, whereas if you'd written more, you would definitely have got a 7, if not more than 7. So next time, really be careful about how much you write and make sure you are covering that minimum word count. All right, now moving on to the task 2. The question is, some experts claim that it is important to teach children the skill of handwriting. To what extent do you agree or disagree? It is believed by some that it is crucial for children to gain knowledge in handwriting. I completely agree with this opinion because using pen and paper boosts memory. It is meaningful to receive handwritten correspondence, and writing is part of our daily lives. Good. That's a nice introduction where you tell us what the topic is and why you agree with it. So that's a good way to start. The main reason for holding to my opinion is that handwriting is an effective way of boosting memory. When we write down something, we remember it more clearly and our brains retain this information. Studying is easier because we can select important information to take down. Children can excel in school and express themselves through writing. Another reason for my position is that it feels good to receive handwritten letters, poems, and small notes. Writing is more personal because it shows that the person has given a lot of their time and energy to put their thoughts and feelings into words. It is always nice when somebody takes the time to make you feel special. Yeah, that's a good paragraph there. It's true. Writing something by hand definitely gives a more personal touch than just typing it. Lastly, writing is a part of our daily lives. We sign forms. We jot down gentle reminders to ourselves, and we take down notes in class. As a busy person, it helps you remember. It helps to remember things that need to be done. Moreover, for a famous celebrity, it would be impossible to sign autographs if they did not know how to write. Don't use a question and don't use you in the sentences. So I've changed that around, taken out the you, made it a little bit more detached from the reader, because these essays really should be about people in general and not specifically directed to the reader as a you. That just brings the level down to a bit more informal, so it's not good for an IELTS essay. In conclusion, I totally agree with the expert's opinion that it is best for children to grasp the skill of handwriting. This is because it optimizes one's memory, it is more meaningful to receive handwritten correspondences, and the fact that it is part of our daily lives. Given the situation, it's a good idea that children learn the skill of handwriting. Good. So it's a clear answer to the question. But at times I felt that it lacked cohesion. Some of the sentences are quite short and you're not linking the sentences using words like consequently, therefore, however. These little terms really do help with the natural flow of an essay and help it to really be coherent. So you need to try and add some of those in next time just to help it. Yeah, just with the overall flow. I mean, the writing, the language is good. It's mostly very accurate. It just doesn't really flow as naturally as it could do. So next time, definitely I would suggest using some of those terms to link your ideas together. But the paragraph structure is logical. You've got a nice short introduction. You've given a couple of reasons, 3 reasons why you find handwriting to be important, and all those reasons are very valid and well expressed. And then in the conclusion, you just sum everything up. So that's a good way to structure the essay. Like I say, your writing is mostly pretty accurate, but yeah, there's just something missing, so it's not quite flowing as well as it could. So I would give this one a 6.5 as well. I mean, it is the right length, but you just need to work on natural flow. Thank you very much.
Hi. So here we have a task 1, and it is a letter to your manager explaining why you want to take some time off work, give details of the amount of time, and suggest how your work could be covered while you're away. So you've started the letter, Dear Mrs. Higgins, and you've finished with yours sincerely. So that's the correct combination. Dear Mrs. Higgins, I would like to request your approval. We don't need 4. I would like to request your approval to grant me a few days of personal leave. The past few weeks have been challenging for our office relocation, mainly to meet the strict timelines with very little room for errors, most especially with anything affecting our customer connectivity. Our internal employees have small tolerance of downtime, and we completely understand that they have their own workload and deadlines that are dependent on our actionables. Furthermore, our external branches that are required to submit daily reports will not be successful if our tasks are incomplete. Due to this daily overtime work, I'm not feeling well. I have not been feeling well lately and would like to take a leave for a week. I'm unable to focus and often feel sleepy, especially during the important meetings that account for the post-mortem findings on the errors that occurred during and after the relocation. I feel that after a week of recovery, I would be able to get back with the same energy and diligence as before. Our success had been clearly highlighted in the engagements with the senior manager. I did not see further meeting invites, and moreover, I made sure that deliverables were all accounted for during the previous meetings. Should anything be required during my leave, all the pertinent diagrams and details have been handed to my associate engineer. He has been an invaluable support by being involved on the overall progress and is very capable to cover
the work during my absence. Thank you in advance for the support you have given, and I hope you can consider my request. Yours sincerely, Mark James. Okay, so this is much too long for a task 1. The minimum word count for a task 1 is 150 words. This is 268, which you're not going to be losing marks for writing too much. On the other hand, you don't get extra marks, and you only have 20 minutes to write this letter, which really isn't very long once you've read the question, planned what you want to say, written it, left time at the end to proofread your work. There's not much time left. So a better use of time is to write less and make sure it is as accurate as possible. I find your language to be fairly accurate here. You have quite a wide range of vocabulary and you're able to express yourself pretty well, but I would just tell you to write less next time, because there are some mistakes that are being made and perhaps you would have caught them yourself if you'd written less and proofread it. So I would give this one a 6.5 to a 7. Now moving on to the task 2, the question is, some people argue that computer games are bad for children in every way, while others say that playing computer games can help in the development of a child. Discuss both these views and give your own opinion. While some people think that the involvement in computer gaming is detrimental to the development of children, others are of the view that it is beneficial and helpful as they grow up. Beneficial and helpful are almost the same thing, so I would take that out. In my opinion, children exposed to computer games have an edge in terms of progress. Children is a plural noun, and therefore the verb needs to agree and be in the plural form. On one side of the argument, those who do not agree that computer games are instrumental to a child's development do have valid points. The most compelling reason is that the kid, don't use the term kid, it's too informal for an IELTS essay, so you need to stick to the more formal term like children and child. So the most compelling reason is that the child would have more than ample productive time to spend doing schoolwork. For example, they can continue to do further exercises at home in addition to their homework to gain mastery, especially on the subjects they are not that confident in. Another reason is the parents can have the child do some extracurricular non-school related activities such as sports, arts, or other outdoor hobbies. Consequently, there could be family bonding that can be done like hiking, swimming, or visiting historical places. This would make the child grow more intelligent and be capable enough in school or outside. Despite the above mentioned points, I am in favor of having the child experience computer gaming. A major reason why I take this stand is that gaming builds creativity and enhances problem-solving skills. Most of the games available today encourage critical thinking on various ways to solve problems, and these are not limited to educational games, but also role-playing ones. There are also games with open-ended scenarios that provide the child with situations that require decision making. Open and then it is undone or restored when conclusions do not go well. Such kinds of games can provide endless perspectives on what can happen, broadening the horizons for the player. Furthermore, gaming with simulations also enhances the reflexes and reaction time, body movement, and enhances the reflexes and reaction time of body movements and reinforces hand-eye coordination that eventually gives advantage to the child on certain related activities which could be useful later in life, like driving. In conclusion, while both opinions are valid, computer gaming can be an aid to enhance a child's development with judicious time management. This is because exposure to games could be a tool to provide additional skills, not to mention the fun it brings. With an open mind coupled with proper guidance from parents, computer gaming in children can be a major contributor to stimulate overall development. Ooh, that's a very long essay. So this is 384 words instead of 250. So again, you've gone over the minimum word count. And what I'm wondering now is, did you do this under time conditions? Because that is a key thing that is really important when doing these practice tests. You do need to be very strict with yourself. Make sure you're doing it under the time that you will have to do in the real test. So it's 20 minutes for the task 1, 40 minutes for the task 2, and do not go beyond that time. And in fact, you should be finishing earlier so that you have time to proofread your work and make sure it is as accurate as it possibly can be. So there's quite a lot of extra fluff in here that doesn't necessarily need to be included. You need to really condense it a lot more and really just focus on the main points. Yeah, so this paragraph here, you could condense it to just talk about it gives time for extra schoolwork or non-school related activities, which just, yeah, it could be, this could become 3 lines probably. You don't necessarily have to be quite so brutal, but you don't need to write as much information. Having said that, it is very, very well written, and obviously you feel quite strongly about the positive aspects of gaming. Probably are a gamer yourself from what I'm reading, or maybe you just have a strong opinion on it. So yeah, it's great when you actually do feel passionate about something. You do tend to write very well. So I would definitely give this one a 7, if not a 7.5, because I do feel it flows very naturally and was a good answer to the question. So well done.
Hello. So here we have a task 2, and the question is, nowadays many people are starting to walk less in their daily life, even though many health experts say that walking is the best exercise to maintain health. Why are people starting to walk less, and what might encourage people to walk more? These days there are a lot of people are reducing their walks, so I would change that to who have reduced the amount that they walk, despite the fact that many health professionals state that the best way to maintain health is walking. There are various reasons for this, but certain measures could be taken to alleviate this problem. Good, that's a nice, clear, concise introduction. So there are several reasons why people are walking less nowadays. The main one is that the abundance of transport available have resulted in a sedentary lifestyle. Have resulted in a sedentary lifestyle due to wanting to save valuable time. Due to wanting to save valuable time, many people choose to use public or private transport instead of walking to the destination, even though there might be just a short, even though it
might be just a short distance. On the other hand is not correct because you're still continuing on the same topic. On the other hand would be bringing in something new. So I would change that to moreover. It is very difficult for people to walk in an extremely hot or cold climate. Due to this, transportation plays a vital role in this situation. And again, despite the reasons, it doesn't make sense because again, you're still just elaborating more on the same thing. So you could just go to here and just say people also show reluctance to walk on the street due to the rising rate of street crimes, which affect their personal safety. Moreover, people can easily go to the gym to enjoy the facilities and various equipments to walk or jog. It is not only not as dangerous as walking or jogging on the street. They also do not have to worry about weather change. Various possible courses of action could be taken in order to tackle the above. In the first place, the government could launch a nationwide campaign to raise awareness about the importance and advantages of exercising. For instance, advertisements by the Ministry of Health about the advantages of walking more in daily life should be regularly shown on television and the internet. Besides, various activities and health awareness programs should be held by the government to encourage people to walk more and stress to walk more. Another way forward could be for the government to provide people with walking tracks that are covered, walking paths that are covered with shelters that will decrease the heat. Most of the time people will not want to walk due to the hot weather. So if the cooling temperature is provided, people will not mind walking. Additionally, beautiful walking paths should be made so that people will feel refreshed when walking. In conclusion, various factors have led to people decreasing the amount of walking nowadays, but this situation could be addressed by the launch of a health campaign and building more walking paths with shelters. Given this situation, it is recommended that steps should be taken immediately in order to ensure that the people in the country understand the importance of walking more in daily life and start doing it. All right, that's too long. This is 422 words instead of 250. So, yeah, it's not that you're going to be penalized for writing too much, but you don't get any extra points for this extra writing, and the chances are you're going to make more mistakes the more you write. So it's better to use the time more wisely and write less. Most examiners recommend writing between 270 and 290 words. And then you can really focus on being accurate. So definitely write less. There were some grammatical errors being made. So I would give this one a 6.5 to a 7. Okay, thank you very much. Hello.
So here we have a task 2, and the question is, nowadays automatic language translation is available on computers and mobile phones. Are there more advantages or disadvantages to this? In the era of technology, it is sometimes, this needs an S, argued that machine translation can do the job of human translation. While there is clearly a benefit to this, I personally believe that the drawbacks are more significant. Good, that's a nice introduction to the topic. You've told us what it is and what your position is on it. So that's great. The advantage of using automated translation apps is that you're talking about apps as plural, so then you need to refer to them as they, are less costly and quicker than hiring a human translator. It is obvious that hiring a translator could be very expensive, especially for those who love traveling and travel very frequently. Therefore, travelers are inclined to rely on electrical devices as an effective form of communication, because a machine translator is not only easy to use, but also convenient to bring along. On the other hand, one of the major disadvantages is that automated translation does not convey the manner of speakers. By having a human interpreter, this allows people to understand deeply the cultural, historical, and custom background of a nation, while machines translate word by word without consideration of context. For example, Westerners visiting a country like Singapore and without hiring a tour guide will not be able to understand why and how Mid-Autumn festivals are celebrated yearly in August and September. Yes, true. Very good point. And it's good to have an example using your own country and giving an example of what kind of situations would be clearer from a real person rather than just a machine. So that's great. It's always good to give an example, and that's a good example to give. In addition to that, most translation devices rely heavily on the internet, which again proves the need for human beings. Even though the internet has become a popular form of telecommunication, there are certain places where we do not have access to the internet network, such as in urban and mountain areas. Not urban. Urban is actually where there is internet. It would be rural and mountain areas. Consequently, without internet connection, we might not enjoy the benefits which electrical device translators can offer, whereas a human translator will be able to travel to every corner of the world. Yes, another great point. In conclusion, the disadvantages are of greater significance than the advantage. Despite the fact that machines might provide a faster and cheaper way to translate into other languages as opposed to humans, they will not be able to replace human interpreters completely because of the internet access limitations and the ability to share and transfer human knowledge. Yeah, well done. That's very good. It's a little bit too long. It's 323 words instead of 250. I would suggest trying to keep the word count below 300 if possible, just so that you can really focus on keeping it as accurate as possible, because there are a few errors that you made, such as it is obviously, whereas it should be it is obvious, sometime instead of sometimes, and I feel like you probably know that was wrong, and you could have caught it yourself if you'd left time at the end to really have a thorough proofread through your work. So yeah, next time I would just suggest writing slightly less and taking the time to proofread and make sure it's as accurate as possible. Having said that, I think you've written a very good answer to the question. You've told us of both the advantage of using
these translation apps, and then the disadvantages, and then concluded that the disadvantages are more than the advantages. So yeah, you've handled the topic very well. The answer is very clear. The structure of the essay is good. You've used some cohesive devices such as therefore. On the other hand, by having, for example, in addition to that, consequently, even though, in conclusion, these are great, it really does make a big difference, and it helps with the overall flow of the essay. So I would give this one a 7 or a 7.5. So that's very good. Now moving on to the task 1. The question, it's a letter to your manager explaining why you want to take some time off work, give details of the amount of time, and suggest how your work could be covered while you're away. So I'm just putting that down there. So you've started, dear Mr. Johannes, and you finish, you haven't got a sign off. So I look forward to receiving your response, and then you need to have yours sincerely, as this is a formal letter. It's to your manager, and therefore it's someone of a higher position than you, so you need to be writing in the formal letter structure, which have very strict rules. So when you start by addressing the person by his name, then you need to finish with yours sincerely. So that's part of what's being tested here, so make sure you do brush up on those letter writing rules so that you don't get that wrong. So, dear Mr. Johannes, I'm writing this letter to inform you that I would like to seek your kind approval for my 2-week leave in July. Due to my sister's wedding, which is going to be held on 28th of July 2017, I need this time off due to my sister's wedding, which is going to be held on 28th, 2017. She is planning to celebrate the party with all our family members and her friends. My sister has booked a restaurant and sent invitation cards to everybody. Since the wedding is a very important event in a person's life, and in order to participate in my sister's special occasion, I would need to be away from work for at least 2 weeks, starting from 17th of July 2017. Next month, I have several meetings with the operation team and one product launch. During my vacation, Mona will be assisting by conducting meetings and dealing with relevant parties, because she has already had a previous experience before, or previous means before. In terms of product launch, I am preparing the handover document and will walk through a few sections to brief James about this. I look forward to receiving your response. Yours sincerely, Anna. Yeah, so other than the fact you didn't have a proper ending to the letter, the rest of it is very good. I just feel this part needed some form of introduction into it, rather than just like due to my sister's wedding, but to refer back to the fact you're asking for some time off. You say, I need the time off because of my sister's wedding. Yeah, and there were a couple of other things that I changed, but otherwise I think you've done a great job. So I would give this one a 7. Thank you very much. Hello. So here we have a task 1, and it's a letter to your landlord to introduce yourself, explain what's wrong with the furniture, and say what action you would like the landlord to take. So you've started the letter, dear sir, which is good, and then you finish with yours faithfully, which is the correct combination. So, dear sir, I am a tenant of your apartment situated in Sengkang Street, which I have been renting from you since last week. I'm writing this letter to express my dissatisfaction with the bed and sofa provided in the master bedroom. We don't say masters, it's just a master. In the master bedroom of the apartment, the foam of the bed is in poor state, in a poor state, to the point that the spring could be felt when I lie down. Since we moved in, I have been experiencing some rashes, which I believe is caused by bed bugs. Another one is the moldy smell of the sofa. Instead of relaxing, I feel uncomfortable and tend to not use it. Too many twos. This is very disappointing. This has been a very disappointing experience for me. I would appreciate it if you could replace these items with new ones. But if you can replace them with used items, it is also acceptable as long as it is in good condition. Or another way is you may transfer us to another available unit near to our current address. I await your prompt response. Yours faithfully, Clarisse. Yeah, so you've done a good job. You have introduced yourself right at the beginning. You've explained very clearly what's wrong with the furniture, the bed bugs, the springs pushing through, and then a moldy smell in the sofa. And then you've given some great suggestions that they could be replaced with new ones, with used ones, or you could be moved to another apartment. So I think you've been very fair and offered plenty of solutions to the problem. So yeah, I think you've done a good job. You've covered everything. There were a few problems with the tenses because you're basically describing things that have been happening since you moved in a week ago up until the present time. So this is the perfect time to use the present perfect tense. And you weren't using that, and there was a mix of tenses. It was a little bit confusing. So I would give this one a 6.5. Now moving on to the task 2. The question is, health experts say that walking is the best form of exercising to maintain health. However, fewer and fewer people walk on a daily basis. What are the reasons for this and what can be done to encourage people to walk more? Despite the fact that walking is beneficial for our body, the number of people who prefer to walk every day is decreasing. There are a number of reasons for this, but several measures could be taken to improve the situation. Good. It's a nice, clear, concise introduction. You've told us what the topic is and what you're going to be discussing, so that's great. Some of the reasons why people tend to choose not to walk are the following. The main one is that people nowadays, you don't need to say the people, you're just talking in general, not specific. The is used in specific points. So the main one is that people nowadays are becoming busier and the time seems to become narrower. It's not really narrow. We don't talk about time being narrow. I would say less. As a result, people, because we're not sure who they are, people would prefer to take public transportation or drive a car for short distances in order to save time. For example, walking from the house to the train station this is just an example, so you can't just say it will take because it depends where you live, obviously. So this is just a hypothetical situation. So it might take 20 minutes while it would take only 5 minutes by bus. Another reason is that the innovation of technology related to traveling the innovation of technology related to traveling the innovation then has created situations to make life easier. This applies to the transportation devices such as escalator and elevators, which are very common these days in public areas. Since using such devices is more comfortable than walking, it becomes a habit of many people. Yeah, escalators and elevators are not necessarily forms of transportation, so I would actually take that word out. Suggestions could be given in order to tackle the above. In the first place, the government could launch a nationwide campaign to raise awareness about the importance of walking. For example, the Ministry of Health could produce posters to put in public places that may encourage people to walk. They could let people know that spending time walking is not a waste, since it will give a good return. Another way forward could be for public establishment administrations to lessen the number of individuals who are using elevators. For instance, they could advise people to give way for the elderly or disabled. As a result, they would want to use the staircase. In conclusion, getting both national governments and public establishment administrations to play their part in encouraging each person to walk daily to improve their physical. Okay. It doesn't lead anywhere. By starting with getting, if you say getting, then it has to, so if by getting this will happen, but you haven't got the second half of that structure, so I would take out getting. Both national governments and public established administrations need to play their part in encouraging each person to walk daily to improve their physical appearance and health. Given this situation, it is recommended that steps should be taken immediately before it gets worse. Yeah, so you've answered the question. You've analysed that it's due to public transportation and people being very busy, that people are walking less, and then you've given some solutions such as having campaigns about the importance of walking and trying to discourage people from using elevators and escalators. So these are good points, they're all relevant to the topic. The essay is structured well, the introduction is nice and short, the two core paragraphs are equally balanced, and then the conclusion is nice and short as well. So that's a great structure. There were a few things that I changed in that last bit. It was a good structure to use, but you didn't finish the second half of the structure and therefore it didn't make sense. So I had to change a few things around. But otherwise, I think you've done a good job, and I would give this one a 7. So well done. Hi. So here we have a task 1, and it is a letter to your manager to explain why you want to take time off work, give details of the amount of time you need, and suggest how your work could be covered while you're away. So you've started the letter, Dear Sir, which is okay, it's a sign of respect, but however, if you look at the situation that you're being given, it is your own manager that you work with every day, therefore you would know their name. But if you want to refer to him as Sir, it's okay, but if you're going to do that, then the ending would not be yours sincerely, it would be yours faithfully. If you start with Dear Mr. Jones, then it would be yours sincerely. So you do need to be careful about this. There are very strict rules about letter writing, and this is partly what you're being tested on here. So you need to make sure you do know what those rules are and that you follow them. So, Dear Sir, I'm writing to request, don't need for, I'm writing to request some unpaid leave next month for personal reasons. My son is celebrating his birthday and requested me to go home and spend some days with him. We can't say some few. You would say spend a few days with him or spend some days with him, but you can't use both. I'm planning to bring my family out of the country to let my son explore some other places and to learn new things. That is why I would be needing 1 week of leave from work starting from July 17th until July 22nd. Regarding my workload, I will submit the necessary documents in advance. My schedule for that week is very light. So that was a very short sentence, and the problem with short sentences is they break up the natural flow of the writing, and so where possible try to combine sentences together so that they're not too short. So if you add an as there, it's better. So my schedule for that week is very light as I only have one appointment with a supplier to receive their sample, but I already talked to Louise to attend on my behalf. I would be very grateful if you could allow me this time. These few days are very important as this will be the best gift I could give to my son since it is his first time for this experience. Yours faithfully, Aldrian. Good. So yeah, you've covered everything in the question. You've explained why you need the time off, the amount of time, and how your work could be covered. And mostly the language is very good. The only problem would be that the dear sir and yours sincerely don't match. But otherwise, you've done a good job. So I would give this one a 7. Okay, so moving on to the task 2. The question is, nowadays the amount of garbage we produce is increasing and this is becoming a global problem. What are the reasons for this and what can be done to solve this problem? Our world today is facing a situation about the growth of the quantity of waste from our daily consumptions. There are several reasons for this, but certain measures could be taken to alleviate this problem. Nice. Clear, concise introduction. Good way to start the essay. Various factors have contributed to the above situation. You repeated the same thing twice. I'm just going to say that happens, but if you would take time at the end to proofread all your work, hopefully you would have caught that yourself before you gave it to the examiner. So just be very careful and make sure you do leave time at the end to check through your work very slowly and carefully to make sure that there aren't errors like that. So various factors have contributed to the above situation. The main one is that the global population is increasing dramatically. More people consuming products means more waste. While market demands go higher is not wrong, but it is quite a low level of language. You want to use more formal, more complicated terms. So increase is a better term here. So while market demands increase, manufacturing industries are producing more and more to satisfy the needs, which also contributes to the total accumulated waste. Good. Another reason is that nowadays people are continuously using non-biodegradable materials. For instance, the packaging of food and the carrier bags from the shops are usually made of plastics which cannot be decomposed. Unlike before, paper unlike before when paper was used as a product wrap or shopping bag. What needs to be done to tackle the above is to get both the government and individuals involved. Good, that's a good sentence. In the first place, the government could launch a nationwide campaign to raise awareness about the environmental problem caused by the overproduction of garbage. For example, this information could be regularly shown on the television, internet, or through posters. Some rules that encourage the people not to use plastic products could also be implemented. In addition, individuals could be responsible for, individuals should be responsible for disposing of rubbish. People must do the proper segregation of waste. Individuals should be responsible for disposing of rubbish, and then you don't need to say people, and must do the proper segregation of waste. For example, papers, bottles, and plastics could be thrown separately or be recycled and reused if possible. In conclusion, various factors have led to problems related to garbage, but this situation could be addressed by the launch of proper disposal campaigns and the implementation of effective regulations to limit the increase of garbage. Given the situation, it is recommended that the above solutions should be taken immediately. Good. Yeah, this is a good answer to the question. You've analyzed the reasons for the problem in that the population is increasing and more products are being used, and the packaging is made of plastic. And then the solutions are to create awareness and make people more responsible for disposing of their rubbish properly. So they're all relevant points to make, all well expressed. The structure of the essay is good. You've got a short introduction, two well-balanced core paragraphs, and then a nice short conclusion at the end. There were a few grammatical errors being made, but nothing particularly serious. So I would give this one a 7 as well. So I think you've done a good job. Yeah, very good. Well done. Hello. So here we have a task 1, and it is looking at a graph about employment rates in 3 sectors of the economy. So the graph shows the information data of 3 sectors of the economy on the rate of employment in the UK over a 10-year period. Well, that's good, but you do need to state what those years were. So from 2000 to 2010. Otherwise, it could be any time, we don't know. In general, it can be seen that the rate of employment in the private sector was downward, while the rate of employment of the public sector and self-employed sector experienced an upward trend. Yes, good. There was a steady increase of employment rate in the public sector from about 39 to 49 from the year 2002 to 2005. Now, I know on the graph it doesn't say what these numbers represent, but logically looking at it, they do seem to be percentages. So, because just stating numbers without qualifying them doesn't really make sense. So, in that the numbers only go up to 60, it's fairly clear that it's talking about the percentage of the population that's in these 3 different sectors. So I would use percentage here. So from about 39% to 49% from the year 2002 to 2005. Subsequently, there was a small dip in employment rate from 49. So again, I would add percent to 45% over the years 2006 and 2007 before a steady increase in employment rate was observed. I think you don't need to keep repeating in the employment rate. We know that's what you're talking about, and to keep repeating it becomes a bit monotonous. The employment rate for self-employed sector began at a much lower rate of 19% in the year 2000, but increased drastically to 330? No. Self-employed. 30%. I think you've just made too many threes. By the year 2010, it was observed that there was a declining trend for the employment rate in the private sector from 2000 to 2010. This also meant that by 2010, the employment rate in the private sector had the lowest rate across all three sectors. Good. So yeah, I know it's difficult, and I know it's not that axes were not labeled, so that's not entirely, I cannot blame you entirely for that. But to give some kind of logical guess about what those numbers represent is fine. So I would use percentage in this context. But otherwise, I think you've done a good job, and I would give this one a 7. Now, we're going on to the task 2. The question is, nowadays, many families move overseas for job opportunities. Some people think that this is beneficial for the children of these families, while others think that the children will find it difficult. Discuss both these views and give your own opinion. While some people would argue that the children will benefit from migrating overseas with their families who move for better job prospects, others take the view that there are negative impacts on these children. My opinion is that it is better that the children migrate with their families. Good. So you've presented the two views on the topic and you've given your own opinion on it. So that's a good way to start. On one side of the argument, there are people who hold the opinion that the migration would have a negative impact on these children. So you need A. The main reason for believing this is that the children would have to constantly adjust to new school environments and cultures of the said country, or the culture of the said country. Some children might find it hard to make friends in school or fit into the culture, especially when they are out of their comfort zone. Furthermore, there is no doubt that this would potentially impose unnecessary stress on the children, which might indirectly affect their studies. Good. Then I would leave a line of space just to make it clear where the paragraph begins and ends. Despite the above arguments, I hold the position that children will prove more beneficial, that children will benefit. It's not that they're proving beneficial, it's that they benefit from. I hold the position that children will benefit from migrating overseas with their families. Indeed, one reason why I take this position is that the children will be given the opportunity to be exposed to different cultures and customs. As a result, they will have a deeper understanding of the country and expand their horizons. That shouldn't be ing. It's the verb have and then expand that should be the same structure. So if have is in the present simple, so should expand. In addition, when children are placed in a new environment, they build up their character and widen their social skills by making new friends and understanding the culture and customs from the local students. By doing this, the children would also learn to be independent in life. Good. In conclusion, while both views are commonly held in society, I believe that migrating with family to a new country would have more positive impact on the children. This is because the new environment would give the children an opportunity to build up their character and also to expand their horizons. This would indirectly have a positive impact on the children's social skills, and it would be put to good use when they enter the workforce. Good. So you've made some good points. You've discussed both of the views. On the one side, you say it's negative because the children might find it hard to make new friends or fit into a culture. But on the other side, you feel that it's good to be exposed to different cultures. They would have a deeper understanding, expand their horizons, widen their social skills. So these are all good points to make. And then in conclusion, you sum everything up. So that's a great way to tackle this kind of question. You were asked to look at both views. You've done that, and you've given your own opinion that you feel it's better that they do go with their families. So that's great. The essay is quite long. It's 330 words instead of 250, which is not something you're going to lose more points for, but you don't gain any extra points either. So it's probably better to write slightly less. I would definitely recommend keeping it under 300 words and focus on the accuracy and the general flow of the essay. Having said that, it is pretty accurate. There were some things I needed to change, but nothing all that serious. So I think you've tackled this well, and I would give it a 7. So well done.
Hello. So here we have a letter to your neighbour to introduce yourself, describe your plans for your party, and invite the neighbour to come. So you've started the letter, dear sir or madam, which is okay. Seeing as though it's a new neighbour, you wouldn't know their name, so it's best to be polite. And then you finish yours faithfully, which is correct. I'm writing to inform you that this forthcoming Monday we will have a function in our house. I'm hoping that you will understand any commotion that we may create. Last Tuesday we moved into your block and we are staying on the 9th floor. My name is Ionneh Grace Labour and I am Malay. We moved house because it is near to my children's school and we can therefore avoid spending money for transportation. I am delighted to list some of the activities that will be happening on the said event. To begin with, we will have a mass that will be conducted by an ordained priest and followed by a sprinkling of holy water to each room. Secondly, food will be served for all of the guests, and the younger children will have games. In addition, videoke is on the list, which is a singing contest for all the visitors aged 19 to 40. Huge prizes are waiting for the winners. I would be grateful if you could attend this event as it is during the children's holiday. Any concerns you may have, please contact me at 873-94097 as soon as you read this letter. I look forward to your positive response. Okay.
There was some errors being made, but mostly you've covered everything that was asked and explained the situation fairly clearly. So I would give this one a 6.5. Now I'm moving quickly on because you've given me two task ones. So if you want both of them graded, I need to be quick. So here, this one is a informal letter to your friends, thanking them for the photos and for the holiday, explain why you didn't write earlier and invite them to come and stay. So this one you've started, Dear Mia and Selena, and you've finished with best regards, so that's correct. How are you guys? I hope you're all doing great in your work. The school holiday is coming soon. To begin with, I'd like to thank you for the photos and great experiences during our holiday. I just received them last Wednesday and they all captured a perfect background. It refreshes my memory. Okay, so we're talking about photos, which is more than one, so it should be they refresh my memory of all the happy moments that we had when we had a work-life balance. Thank you so much for bringing me to that place, and I really enjoyed myself. I'm sorry that I couldn't respond to you earlier. I just finished calculating all the grades of my students. As you know, I am a primary teacher handling 150 students, and I needed to finish all the grades before the school holiday came. Since the class has now ended, I would like to invite you all to a place where we can relax and not worry about any submissions. You don't need to worry about the expenses because I will treat you all. I hope to hear from you very soon. So again, I would give this one a 6.5 because there were some grammatical errors being made, and I'm not so sure about why. Because obviously the question says it's photos from your holiday, so it was a holiday, not a work-life balance. So I would actually take that out. When we had a holiday. Okay, now moving on to the task 2. The question is, technologies like the computer and telephone have made it easier to work from home. What do you think are the advantages and disadvantages of working from home? In many nations around the world, many people are seeking, we don't seek for always, we're just seeking a better work-life balance and a flexible policy to accommodate shifting workplace. While this offers a few advantages, there are also some disadvantages which are worth considering. Good, that's a nice introduction, very clear, concise, to the point. There are two main benefits to people working at home. Firstly, the flexibility to determine your own work hours, which is an important aspect. When you handle your own time, firstly, the flexibility to determine, okay, try and avoid using you to determine, firstly, the flexibility to determine work hours. Many people like to be in control of the hours that they work rather than having to follow government regulations. In addition, it also defines the environment. It is very important that the environment of a workplace suits the worker. As a result, it will make them happier and more productive. Another advantage of home-based work is the proximity to home and family that are tremendously comforting. This is because when people are near to their loved ones, especially for parents, they can easily pacify and observe how their children are growing up. They will be able to teach the good manners that they want their children to possess. On the other hand, various disadvantages ought to be noted. A major disadvantage is that home-based workers may have a lot of distractions. Firstly, interruptions from children. We all know that children like to react from something that is all new to them. That is new to them. They most likely need help to answer something, and they will ask all they need. Secondly, neighbors, friends and family. It's not possible to work if there are people coming to chit chat. Additionally, the work, don't use contractions, does not end. Since there is no one looking over their shoulder enforcing strict hours, they may feel tempted to work endlessly. In conclusion, working from home is not for everyone. It takes a lot of dedication, self-control and discipline to motivate oneself to persevere in working at home. Therefore, it is necessary to weigh the benefits against the drawbacks carefully before coming to a decision whether to work in a home-based situation. Okay, now this is very long. It's 350 words instead of 250. Even though you don't get penalized for writing too much, you also don't get any extra points. And the tendency is that you will make more mistakes the more you write. So it's better to write less and spend time checking your work and making sure it's as accurate as possible. There were quite a few errors here and words, things that really were just unnecessary, so I've taken quite a bit out. So for this one, and also don't use you when you're writing. Try and take a step back and be more detached and talk about people in general, they, rather than you. You is too informal. So I would give this one a 6. Thank you very much.